Hello, I'm Brian, and today I'm here to show you a simple tutorial of how to green screen in After Effects using Keylight. So to start off, I have my footage. I'll bring in my footage and my background, drag them into the project. And so we have green screen footage and just a static background picture. And I'll take my footage, start a new composition. And so here it is. It's basically me looking silly, waving around a piece of a fur coat. But this makes good test footage because the fur on the coat is kind of a challenge to keep the detail of when you're green screening. So it's a good way to test the quality of your keying and also the equipment you're using. So to start off, I'm going to mask out the area that I want to green screen because they're objects obscuring the green screen and doesn't cover the full background, so I'll just start with that. And so pen tool by clicking it or pressing G in the keyboard, either way, and we can start drawing our mask, where I'll try to keep all of me and the fur in the mask even during motion. So I'll just take a little bit. And it doesn't have to be exact, but you just don't want to have too much of the outside stuff that'll get in the way of your keying inside the mask. And I also do recommend having the transparency grid on, because else when you're doing the actual green screening, if you do it without your background, it might be hard to tell what's going on. But I have started a mask here. I'm going to kind of scrub through the footage and see where I need to adjust. So I'll just drag this out here some. And you could always go back to the pen tool and add some more points if you want a more detailed mask, but for now I'm just going to do a basic shape. So that side looks about good. Guess I'll try to get my whole arm in there too. Alright, so that's a decent start. And once I have that, you can get to the actual green screening. So you want to go over to the effects and presets and search for Keylight. And you can drag that onto the footage. And for this, you start out, you want to select green from the green screen that kind of is as close to representative as possible of all the shades of green, so nothing that's too bright or too dark in shadows. So I'll choose around here where it seems pretty even. And once you have that, that's your basic key, but there's settings you can mess with to try to make it a cleaner key. So for example, screen gain, you usually don't want to mess with that too much, but it can be used in moderation to clean up green screen a little bit. So I will adjust that up a little bit. And that cleans up some of the gray and other artifacts you see. And another thing you can do to check the quality of your keying is change the view from final result to status, for example. And that's where the black is fully keyed out, so your background will show through fully. White is your foreground or subject showing fully, like so me, and the gray is kind of the in-between, where you want some gray to preserve edge detail, but you can see we don't want all of this noise in the black and white parts. that won't be as clean of a final product. And there's also screen matte, which is the same idea, with the white being what is not keyed out, black is keyed out, and the gray is stuff that will show through as noise, or stuff we probably want to get rid of for the most part, except for on the edge detail. So I'm going to continue adjusting settings to try to make a bit of a cleaner keying final result. And if you go to screen matte, you have your clip black and clip white settings. And clip black will clean up the edges of your subject that is in front of the green screen at the expense of losing some edge detail. So it's another thing you have to use in moderation. If you adjust it a slight bit, you can see it gets rid of some of the noise. And so I'll adjust that a little bit. And also the clip white is the opposite. It cleans up the noise within the white, but if you raise it too high, it'll make your image look rather weird. But I will adjust that down a little bit, get rid of some of the noise on the subject. And if you go to final result, you can see that it's a decent key so far. And another thing we can do is go back and add our background in. And you can, because that's another consideration, is seeing how the key looks over your background. I chose this because, who doesn't want to be on the beach, and also because it's bright enough where I can see the detail of the fur, and you can kind of check how decent of a matte it is. You can see in the motion and the hair there's some detail retained. This is also a time where you can see how the adjusting the settings affects the look of the final product. If you found final result, and let's say you drag the clip black way too far, you can see your subject starts kind of disappearing and the edges are way too cut off. And with clip white, it's not as noticeable, but again, if you go too far, you're going to get some weird results. So those are, I would say, if you need to adjust those more than 10 or 15, depending on the equipment you used, it's probably a different problem, and you shouldn't have to raise those way up or down. So we've got a good start so far, but you may see that for my shoulder there is some gray showing through where there was a shadow on the green screen. I was standing in front of a wall that had a shadow on it, and to fix that we can duplicate this footage, Control D, and we'll create another mask with a slightly different setting so that you can get rid of the background noise. And I'll rename that just so I know which is which. And then for this, you want to get rid of the mask we had, and we'll do a new mask that takes care of the shadow portion. And now that we have that, also in this instance I'll check how much the masks overlap, because we're going to have two separate areas for the separate settings. So in this case, the other mask will take care of my arm, so I can leave that out. But if we go back to this one, and then we already have the key light effect on there, but we'll adjust a few things. For example, go to source so we can see the original background and choose a green that represents a good cross-section of the colors represented, so we can get a more accurate key. So I'll choose the darker green where the shadow was, and I think I'll leave the screen grain where it was. Here I'll go to status and we'll see. It isn't too bad, but could always tweak some settings to try to get a bit more cleanliness on the edges. So you don't need as much clip white. Let's see. Let's see how the final result looks. So as you can see, the strange shadow that was above my shoulder is gone. And it's not a perfect key, but I mean it's decent for the situation. You're just doing some testing, see how good the lighting and other factors were. So if I scrub through, you can see there's a little bit that pops up where I can adjust the masks. And there's another little bit where it's not enough overlap. So as you can see, through my whole range of motion, there's no obvious defects or anything we need to fix. Besides maybe this little bit of shadow down here by my hand, I can clean up a little bit. And there you go. So that's one way of doing some simple green screening. And if there was more motion involved with this green screen background, I might have had to do some motion tracking for the mask to follow. Or if there was a bigger green screen with no shadows or any obstructions, then I could have just keyed out the whole background. But either way, I hope this was a helpful introduction to green screening. And feel free to save this project, or any similar project if you followed along and render it out, and see what the result is.